In Palm Springs with Yugi Krishnamurti. Chapter 1. Arriving in Palm Springs. Yugi has decided to spend some days in Palm Springs, a beautiful city 100 miles east of Los Angeles. Julie telephoned to give me the news. I immediately noted down his telephone number in my diary. Later, while talking to her again, I learned that quite a few friends from India, Europe, and America want to come to Palm Springs to spend some time with Yugi. For Julie, it is a different matter altogether. At present, her sole aim in life is to be in his presence. Yugi, however, always tries to discourage others from being dependent on him or making him the center of their lives. Yugi's full name is Uppaluri Gopala Krishnamurti. I first became acquainted with this name through a strange incident. I was then doing research in physics at Rutgers University, New Jersey. In our research team was an Indian gentleman who was busy winding up his doctorate dissertation. As we sometimes worked together, a friendship developed between us, and this led to personal discussions about our beliefs and philosophical concepts. He showed a keen interest in talking about spiritual matters, and when he learned that I too was deeply interested in such things, that in fact spirituality had become the most important part of my life, he informed me that he practiced meditation, followed the path of Raja Yoga, and was also deeply involved with a spiritual organization. Afterwards, whenever we found time, we used to discuss spiritual matters. This gentleman was keen that I meet his guru. My daughter Shilpa was then just a few months old, and he and his wife invited my wife Lakshmi and me to dinner one day, ostensibly to see our baby. The real reason was to have a detailed discussion on meditation, philosophy, and the working methods of their organization. In the evening, as soon as I entered my friend's living room, my eyes fell on a photograph. "If this gentleman is your guru, I have no objection to meeting him," I informed my friend. He said that this was Sri Ramachandra, who had passed away, and that Ramachandra's favorite disciple, Parthasarathi, was the current guru. I told him, in that case, I was not so eager to meet him. It was the photograph that had attracted me. But he began to explain things and showed us the mission's books. I was examining their book cabinet when suddenly my gaze was arrested by one of the titles. I took the book and began to turn the pages hurriedly. It was titled The Unknown Man. A chapter on Jiddu Krishnamurti caught my attention. I knew the subject well, but surprisingly, the next chapter attracted my attention even more forcefully. I avidly read the chapter titled No Way. This was the first time somebody had criticized J. Krishnamurti. I finished the chapter in one shot. It was about Yugi Krishnamurti. This was the first time I had seen his name and photograph. It took me another 4 years to be personally acquainted with this man. I first met him in New York, December 13, 1995, in Julie Clark Thayer's apartment on Central Park West. Julie has no siblings. She calls me her brother. That day, after speaking to her on the phone, I realized that she was very happy. The reason being, Yugi had granted her permission to stay longer with him in Palm Springs. I too wished to spend a few days of my vacation with Yugi, so I thought if Yugi consents, I will go and spend 2 weeks with him in Palm Springs. Immediately after finishing my conversation with Julie, I phoned Yugi. Yugi, I heard you have discovered an excellent place to stay in Palm Springs. Yugi, you heard right. We have got it very cheap. The dryness of the desert makes me feel healthy. Yugi, if you have no objection and if you have no other plan, then I too would like to spend my holiday in Palm Springs. Yugi, I do not say yes or no to anyone. Why should you simply come so far? You will not get anything from me. Why should you waste both money and leave by coming so far? You are a researcher. Your time is valuable. Besides, you have seen in New York how I roam around and spend time chit-chatting with friends. That's how I spend my days. Well, never mind, Yugi. Let me spend some money just to have the pleasure of chatting, as I'm a Bengali. Yugi, it is your money, and you may spend it as you wish, and I have nothing to say to that. However, later, you should not blame me. Oh, another thing. I'm staying in the desert. It is impossibly hot here in June. I wanted to remind you how hot it is here. I have spent my life in Kolkata's hot and humid climate, Yugi. The heat will not stop me from chit-chatting. Yugi, not only the outside heat, inside too it is tremendously hot. I was stunned at hearing his words. It was Yugi's habit to sometimes speak in a way which gave a jolt. What did he mean by inside heat? In America, there was no shortage of air conditioners. Of course, for those who are interested in spiritual practices, the words were very meaningful. But for a person who did not believe in soul, spirituality, and God, what else could one think except that he must be talking of lack of fans and air conditioners? Still, I told him, I believe such conditions are most suitable for spiritual practices, Yugi. Yugi, till you give up this mystifying outlook, you will not be able to see anything clearly. Never mind, Yugi, what happens. I'm coming. Yugi, listen, your sister from New York, Julie, she is also here. She is well acquainted with this place. She will receive you at the airport. The matter of staying with Yugi in Palm Springs for 14 days was now fixed. I arrived at Los Angeles Airport in the middle of June. I had been living in America for the last 7 years, but this was the first time I had stepped into the heart of California. Julie was waiting for me in the airport lounge. As soon as she saw me, she greeted me with a hug and said, "My brother, welcome to California." Eyes shining with joy, her cheeks were aflame with a rosy hue. I asked her whereabouts of Yugi. She said that Yugi was resting in Hotel Kalmar in Santa Monica on the shores of the Pacific Ocean. We had to wait at the airport for some more time because a lady named Tanuja Chandra was expected in half an hour. She would stay with us for about 10 days. I was not acquainted with Tanuja Chandra, but I made no mistake in identifying her among the passengers coming out of immigration. 2 glasses that looked like soda bottle bottoms seemed to be held in front of our eyes with the help of a thin black wire. Short and petite, this lady seemed to represent the urban, modern, upper-middle-class society. Amidst the introductions, I realized that Tanuja was a writer. She had written a script for a Hindi movie and was also an upcoming director. She was associated with a few television serials and had a filmmaking degree from an American university. All 3 of us rode in Julie's Swedish car, Volvo 840, and reached the hotel within half an hour. In the hotel, Yugi and his Italian friend Mario Vigiano were waiting for us. As soon as Yugi saw me, he said that he had heard that Bengalis liked nothing better than to chat, but he wondered if crossing the heartland of America and traveling from the shores of the Atlantic Ocean to the shores of the Pacific Ocean just to chat was not a little bit too much. I pointed to Tanuja and asked what he would say to this lady who had crossed the 7 seas to come to this place. Yuji said, "She has a suitable reason for it. She has decided to work in India, but to save her American green card, which might be useful in future, she is here." We chatted in the hotel till evening. Mario had accompanied Yuji nearly all over the world a couple of times. He will stay here for about 10 days and then go back to his workplace in Germany. At present, in California, he has rented a white Japanese car, the Nissan Maxima. We then went back to Los Angeles airport in 2 cars. Famous film director Mahesh Bhatt was to arrive from Switzerland. He would be staying for 2 weeks in California with Yuji. With a black bag slung on his shoulders, Mahesh came out much before other passengers. First-class passengers disembark first. That's the first time I realized how fast we can get out if we do not have to wait for the luggage to arrive. Mahesh's nature was joyous and enthusiastic. There were no pretensions of any kind. His behavior on seeing Yuji reminded me of the song, "My Heart Dances Like a Peacock Today." Yuji, too, seemed to light up with joy, but pretending to be disgusted, he wrinkled his nose and said, "How long will you continue this childishness?" I felt if we all were not around, Mahesh would have given a physical demonstration of his love for the old man. We were to travel in 2 cars to Palm Springs, a journey of 2.5 hours. Yuji did not answer Julie's query of who was traveling in which car and told me to travel in the car with him if it was not troublesome. Then he glanced at Mahesh. "All are Indians, no problem," shouted that gentleman. Mario drove and sat with Yuji in the front seat, while Tanuja, Mahesh, and I sat in the rear seats. Poor Julie followed us alone in the other car. Everybody said Mario's driving was extraordinary. I felt pity for a man who was used to driving on the autobahns of Germany at 200 kilometers per hour, who now had to crawl through the traffic of Los Angeles. He seemed crushed occasionally and smiled as soon as our eyes met in the rear-view mirror. I had become good friends with Mario in this short while. His American girlfriend, Lisa, was so good-looking that Mahesh called her Lisa Gorgeous. Lisa lives in Palm Springs, where we were about to stay. After about 3 hours, we got off the highway. This place is unimaginably beautiful. Sand dunes rise out of the ground in a way that I felt the wind god must surely be coming here every day to dance with joy and abandon, making new creations each day. This has not evaded the eyes of the human beings. They have used their intelligence to harness the energy of the wind god and installed rows and rows of windmills. The mad, drunken flapping of the windmills provides energy for cooking and lighting in many of the nearby villages and towns. Leaving all this behind, we soon came to the outskirts of a luxurious small city. As soon as we entered, my eyes fell on the cable ropeway, which snaked its way to the top of a mountain. Quite a few cable cars were swaying in the wind and going to and fro. We passed a few traffic lights and arrived in front of a beautiful lodge. Getting down from the car, I realized how the car's air conditioner had kept us cool. Ocatillo Lodge. The name of the original residents of this land has become synonymous with the motherland of my dreams, thanks to a mistake in the direction taken by Columbus. Ocatillo means a beautiful desert flower in the Native American Indian language. It is a single-story lodge. There are small flats with a kitchen, bedroom, living room, and a narrow veranda. The whole place is beautifully decorated. Rates differ on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, and double around the time of the birthday of the carpenter from Nazareth. I decided not to cook, hence, to spend $70 daily would be luxury for me. This is not for me, I told myself. Just on the opposite side of the road, a 5-minute walk away, I found a suitable place to stay for $40. The room had a pair of beds and an attached bath. There was also a swimming pool, but I preferred to take a bath in my room itself. That night, I did not sleep well. My mind was in a questioning mode. It is always eager to know the purpose of my work. Sometimes I'm very embarrassed. This struggle between the one who questions the intention and the one who works is very painful. End of chapter 1.